Ryan, our wise ass, not wise guy, is on in Philadelphia. All right. Right now, as is, presently constructed with the Philadelphia Eagles, when you look at this squad and we look at their win total, and we can get into that in a couple moments, and it goes back to the quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Do you believe to a man the Eagles are confident that Hurts is the quarterback going forward? When I say going forward, that he can be a franchise quarterback in Philadelphia.
How can they be? Right? And we've talked about this before. How can you say this is our guy when you haven't seen anything? Yeah. I think that would that not be stupid? That would be a narrow-minded way to approach things. I would say if you look around the NFL, how many teams can confidently say that about their quarterback situation, period?
There's probably, there's probably 10 to 15 teams in the NFL that I think we know are extremely secure in their quarterback position, right. And then there's some of the teams that are still somewhat of a question marks. I guess the reason being because it seems as though it's such a hot topic of debate that he's struggled here and there, depending upon who you listen to, or what you read, or what you see in practice. That it just has the makings of maybe this kid being I don't want to say set up to fail. And then I've also heard the flip side of this, which I said to Johnny Mack. What happens if by some grace of God this kid plays well and they win a couple games early on? You think the Eagles are thinking to themselves, oh, no, what do we do now?
Yeah, I just don't know. It's tricky in the NFL. You never really have to go in a full rebuild. The Eagles in 2017, they weren't expected to win the Super Bowl. That was sort of going into that season, a couple steps back. Hopefully Carson stays healthy, and then obviously he took off, and then Foles said the unthinkable, however you want to describe it. But in the NFL, my point is, you never know what can happen. Crazy things happen. Teams that we go on record to say are going to suck end up being a playoff team. But I don't know what the Eagles' mindset is going into this season, within the organization. How are they viewing this year?
It's a rebuild.
That's going to impact Jalen's development and how he's progressing or degressing this upcoming season.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily true, though, because if they looked at it as a rebuild, what the heck do they care?
Well, if they're going into it all right, you know what, this is a new coaching staff, this is a new quarterback, we want to see what we have in him. We have a lot of questions, throughout the depth chart. In other areas of the field, I guess I should say. So let's just work on him, and he can make some mistakes. And it's not about wins and losses. It's just about maybe moving in the right direction. How do we look on the film? Or are they looking at it if this offensive line is healthy, if Devontae is who we hope he is, a lot of those ifs, if they come out to be true, then maybe they're saying, let's go win this division. We're a 9 to 11 win team. Then he's going to have a shorter leash.
Yeah, I got swampland to sell you if they actually think that. I'll tell you right now, mark it down. If they start off 0-4 and he struggles, they will bench him. They will, because I can tell you.
Yeah, listen, you've been on record with that in the past for other situations, and you ended up being right, and I disagreed then, and I'll disagree now. So take it for what it's worth. I guess it depends on. I don't know, it depends on their quarterback situation. What are they going to do? Put in Joe Flacco? What is that going to do for him? And then how does that help Jalen's stock to get rid of him if they want to bench him? You might as well keep him in.
Yeah, but then you could have made the same argument last year in Miami with Tua when they kept flip-flopping, right? Listen, he is who he is. I think people will realize Jalen Hurts is who he is. I think Jalen Hurts at the end of the day, I think will be an okay quarterback who is a really exciting quarterback in college, where he's going to make his bread and butter in this league is with athleticism in his legs. And that's it.
Right.
And again...
Right, but that's okay, as long as he has the pieces around him. I heard an analogy the other day, so this is not my thought, and I forget even where I heard it, so I can't give proper credit, but they brought up Dante Culpepper, and when he was throwing to Randy Moss, and who was on the other side, I forget. Yeah, exactly, Carter. That team was loaded, my point is. And what did Culpepper do well? Nothing really. He had some legs, ability to extend plays, and he was able to throw the deep ball. So I guess my point is, if you have the right pieces around him, you don't need to be Tom Brady.
But see, I don't. But here's the thing, though, and this is where I'll disagree. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a pure pocket passer. That's why I think they're going to go RPO heavy. Like, I don't see him with that ton, accuracy. I don't.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, that's. I don't know. I don't know if I wholeheartedly agree. I guess your point of it is, and it's someone else's thought, is that like any other quarterback in the NFL, you have to surround him with the right fit, which. Yeah, and the right pieces, which I get. Again, joined with Ryan Rothstein of Sports Radio WIP on the FM dial, 94.1, at Wise Rye. Forget about the AM, right? I mean, oh, my goodness. So he joins us every Wednesday. For a couple moments. I'm looking at these win totals in the NFC East, and I'll tell you, this is why these guys do what they do, right? You got the Giants sitting there at 7. You have the Eagles sitting there at 6.5. You have Washington sitting there at 8.5, and then the Cowboys at 9. Kind of tells me Sharp's looking at the NFC East saying, all right, we think it's going to be somewhat of a competitive division, and no one's going to run away with it because there's not a huge differential from 7 to 9 wins. There really isn't in my book. That tells me basically you're teetering as a playoff team, 500, or a team that just gets in as a wild card or wins the division.
Yeah, this division is interesting. I think for lack of a better way to put it, you and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, you go team to team in the NFC East.
Yep.
And which team are we most confident about, or which team has the least question marks around them? It's probably Washington, the football team. And they ain't nothing special. I mean, that defense is special. But my point is, they're probably a 500 team. Everything else, I don't know. The Giants, the Cowboys, and the Eagles, none of us would be surprised if any of those three teams finished with 3 or 4 wins or 9 or 10 wins if everything goes the other way.
I think the team to beat, I think people are sleeping on Washington. I do, man. I think their defense, I think you're going to let, and you might not agree to this, I think you're going to let Fitzpatrick sling it. I think they've got some offensive playmakers and weapons. By all account, I hear that defense is having a fantastic camp, and I think they'll be able to win some games. I think they'll be able to dominate in the fourth quarter and take over some games. And look, they might have some of these games where they're playing from behind. You might have Fitzpatrick, who's going to have 3 or 4 picks, slinging it for 300 to 400 yards. But I just think people are sleeping on them. I really do. Now, you look at their schedule, and again, it's a little dicey because they always have problems with the Eagles. They always have fits against the Giants. They play the Dallas Cowboys pretty tough. But outside the division, if you're a Washington football fan, there's some opportunity for them to win games. Now, they have I would say, a very tough stretch right around October. Kansas City, the Packers, Tampa Bay. But look who they open with. Chargers, Giants, Bills, Falcons. You're going to tell me that they can't go 3-1, and then the Saints. And I think the Saints are going to be a bad team. I can see Washington, if things break for them, they can go 4-1, 3-2 after 5, which isn't a bad setup for them.
No, I completely agree, and I'm a fan of Fitz Magic. And my point before you jumped in there was I think Washington is the team I'm most confident on as far as what we know right now, looking at the NFC East as a whole. I can easily see them starting off strong, and that defense is going to be consistently dominant. So Fitz will win you a couple of games. You just have to hope he doesn't lose you a couple of games. And if that falls the right way, some things fall in their direction, in their favor, yeah, I think they're easily an 8 to 10 win team. Probably 8 or 9. Double digits might be, friendly. But, yeah, I like Washington. I don't know how they're not the favorite right now.
Well, a couple of teams that it's, you look at the quarterbacks, right? Houston, Texans, total number of wins is 4. I think they're going to stink because we don't know what's going to go on with Deshaun Watson. And then all of a sudden like that, everyone thought Carson Wentz was going to be out 5 to 12 weeks. And now there's reports he might be ready by week 1. And then Indianapolis is sitting there at 9. And the reason I bring it up is because they play in the same division as Tennessee. And if you look at Tennessee's win total, where do you think it's at? It's at 9. I mean, if there was no Wentz, I would say Tennessee is good for sweeping the Colts. But now you have a really competitive division right there in the AFC South, right? It's going to be a two-team race. Jacksonville's a young team. We know Houston's, the Texans are going to stink, and then it's going to be between Tennessee and the Colts. Right now, out of those two teams, Tennessee and the Colts, who are you more confident in?
I'm more confident in Tennessee, just because we seem to have gotten good news on the Carson Wentz front for now, but I can't trust it. Like I'm sorry, he's going to give it a go. But even when that news first broke, it was okay, he can either give it a go, and we'll see if he's able to continue to keep going. If not, he's going to have to elect for surgery. So I think that's still a possibility with him. And other injuries are always a possibility. So if there's any issues in Indy surrounding the quarterback, I like Tennessee, and I still like Tennessee, man. They've added to their offense. I'm still a big fan of Derrick Henry. I like the coaching. I think they're the most consistent and most solid thing that we know right now, even in that division.
I don't know how they have New England winning more than 9.5 games.
I know. How? What are we missing? Hey, how about that quarterback battle? Are you kidding me? Joke.
But look at their schedule. Miami and the Jets. And I think the Jets will be a lot better. I think everyone thinks Miami last year, you won 10 games. All right, let's just say New England splits the first two. All right, then you've got the Saints. I'll even give you a win there. You've got the Bucks. Now that's a loss. You got the Texans. That's a win. So right there, they're sitting at what? 1, 2, 2. What are we? 2 and 3, right? Then you got the Cowboys. That's a loss. I think they come back and they lose to the Jets. I think they go on the road and they split against the Chargers and the Panthers. They lose to the Browns. They lose to the Falcons. They lose to the Titans. They lose to the Bills. Then they got the Colts. Where are you seeing almost 10 wins right there? I'm not. I would bang the under heavy on that one.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, this is once again, like we talked about this in different variations throughout the year last year. This is just, I think, too much of the betting market relying on Bill Belichick.
Yes.
I guess that's not a terrible way to look at it, but I'm sorry. I just don't think he has enough tools in his toolbox to be like some outstanding coach. He's got what he's got out there right now.
Yeah. Let me switch gears for a couple moments to baseball. And I mushed everyone yesterday talking about the Phillies and if they were legit or not. And then, of course, the rain of the long ball does them in against the Dodgers. 8 in a row, though. You always try to ride those streaks. I mean, you look at this NL East. I get the sneaky suspicion that the Atlanta Braves might just walk away with this with the NL East.
Why do you feel that way?
Because I know the whole dealings with Acuna, but I just think offensively, they are just from top to bottom the best team when it comes from purely an offensive standpoint. I know the little run that Harper is on right now for the Phillies. I know they just had to put Hoskins on the IL. But to me, the Atlanta Braves just have a more potent offense, and I think that's going to carry them. It's to make up for some lack of pitching. I don't see what with Phillies. The Atlanta Braves plus 66 run differential. They won 7 out of their last 10. So I think they're starting to feel it a little bit. I can't see the Phillies, late in the season having to outslug some of these teams. I just can't. That's why I think.
Yeah, listen, it's fair, and you know how I've been throughout the entire year. I have not been, leading the Phillies charge or line of defense or bandwagon by any means. But I don't know. Maybe they have me drinking the Kool-Aid in this 8-game win streak, Q. But I've watched every game throughout the past eight wins, and even prior, I've been pretty consistently, keeping a close eye on them. There is something different about them, and it's just a question of can they keep it up. Now, of course, they're not going to continue to, win games like at this rate, but there's something different, man. Wheeler's the favorite to win the Cy Young right now. Harper's looking like the NL MVP for now. There's still a lot of baseball left, but man, they look like that they found something, and more than just on the field, like off the field, just the whole vibe around the team. All of a sudden, it looks like a new team. I swear. Now, maybe that comes to a screeching halt. Wouldn't be shocked. But right now, it really does, Q. It doesn't just look like a flash in the pan, to me at least.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it. I mean, DeGrom, unfortunately, because of the injury, he should win the NL Cy Young. You mentioned NL MVP. You look at the numbers, right? Tatis, Turner, Harper. You look at the run that he has had, and you see his odds that have drastically changed over the last 11 days. Let's not forget Manny Machado too. I mean, we're all prisoners of the moment, are we not? Right? The guy goes on this great tear, this great run. Usually, it happens with sluggers. In this case, it's happening with Harper. I don't know, man. I got to see at least, I would say, 30+ home runs. I mean, what's he driven in? 45 runs? 20 homers?
Yeah, his RBIs were brutal prior to this winning streak.
And he missed time, too, to be fair. He missed time.
He missed time, and, the team was horrible as a whole offensively. It's not like he was stepping up with men on second and third every game either. But, listen, nonetheless, he's batting almost 400 since the All-Star break. You look at his numbers since July 1st, you haven't seen these numbers since his MVP year. He's been consistent for quite some time now. And if he can keep this up, man, they're going to be tough to beat for the division.
5:33 on a Wednesday edition of Back Your Play. Rich Quinones here. We'll take up to 6. Don't forget, we'll be back on tomorrow. We extend it. Ryan Rothstein, kind enough to join us in his weekly spot from Sports Radio, WIP, at Wise Rye. All right, the Ben Simmons watch. Did you catch the videos of Ben just shooting those fluid J's?
Oh, of course. That's taxes, and right around August, Ben uploaded a video on social media of him in an empty high school gym.
It's so annoying. Seriously, it is. It really is. It's like the people on Twitter that just have to stroke their own ego. I don't need to see this nonsense. And now it seems as though there's a little, I don't want to say a standoff going on. Look, if he's not returning calls, if he's threatening to not report to camp, if he's not picking up the phone, then guess what? Get him the hell out of here. Seriously, just trade him.
Well, I think, and isn't that what they're trying to do?
Yeah, but now it's to the point where it's annoying me, and I'm not even a Sixers fan. Like, this guy, what all of a sudden he became Magic Johnson? What is that, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yeah, so if you ask a lot of people on social media, that's what they say. Listen, it's a joke. If he's upset, I don't give a bleep. I mean, get this guy the hell out of here. It's just, it only goes to even more reason why he is just a joke. He's just a joke in every aspect of his being.
Yeah.
He is. He is.
I mean, it seems as the only player, or maybe if you want to throw Portland in there, or Golden State. I hate the fact now that, again, these players are dictating. Look, Ben Simmons, I'm sorry, he's not a cup of coffee in the NBA. You're not going to dictate to me where you think you're going to go. I'm not going to play that game. But it does.
No.
You almost get the sense it's either Golden State or Portland, and that's it.
Yeah, but hasn't that always been it? And like you said before, I mean, the only miracle here, if he ends up on a different team, is if there's like a third team that comes into play where you can move some extra pieces for everyone involved. But yeah, I don't know how they pull this off, man. Like, I really don't know how they pull this off. I want him out of town, but the next question, which is nothing new, at what cost?
Well, there's your rub, right?
Yeah.
Do you want him out so bad where you have to, you dropped your pants a little bit and you're like, all right, let's just get him out of here, because look, his value, he didn't help himself with that postseason flop. I can tell you that. He didn't help himself with that post-game presser after Game 7 loss in Atlanta. He hasn't helped himself by not returning calls. He hasn't helped himself by saying, I want to be great, I want to stick around. I mean, again, sometimes they say not saying anything is a good thing, but I think in this regard, something out of him. something out of him to kind of just do a little
come out and say you're not saying anything. Right? Like, come out and say, man, I am embarrassed. I have a lot of work to do. My head is down. You're not going to hear from me because a lot of things need to change.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah, I'm just, it's just bizarre when you really think about it, right? Because you thought you had, wasn't the conversation a couple of years ago, who would you build, the team around and the franchise players, and you look at Philadelphia and it was Carson Wentz and it was Ben Simmons and Embiid, and Wentz is no longer here, and Embiid's frustrated, Simmons seems to be on his way out. I mean, it's just, things change. They change drastically, and you just wonder if he actually would have had that 15, 12, and 8 postseason, went to the line, was aggressive, played his guts out, and they still lost in 7 games. Are we really having this conversation?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I've said this at different times since that Game 7 loss. I almost look at it as a blessing, like that this needed to happen for change to occur. Because you're right, Hugh. I think it's a good point. Like, maybe it's status quo as far as our view and opinions and expectations around this team with the group currently constructed. So I am almost looking at it like a good thing, because I never was a fan of this roster and Ben and Joe playing together. It's just not working. It won't work.
No, you weren't. And you even talked about it before the season. I mean, you wanted Harden. I remember you and I went back and forth.
Yeah, we had a lot of good debates about that, and you're not a Harden fan, but I think even you could agree, just because of how much of a joke Ben is, that, man, yeah, that would have been nice.
Well, I'll tell you where it totally messed with my mind is that I thought, again, all of a sudden I blinked and James Harden dropped 25 pounds.
That's social media, man.
You were dead on with that too. You're like, now trust me, this guy's in shape. I don't care what anyone's like. And then boom, all of a sudden the fat suit from Professor Clump and the Nutty Professor comes out, and all of a sudden, he's good to go. It's good. I'll tell you, 10 years from now, who you're going to look at perception-wise and say was the bigger bust in Philly? Carson Wentz or Ben Simmons?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a good debate, but then you can easily just fall back on, listen, Carson at least was an MVP at one point for a 13-game stretch, and they don't win the Super Bowl without him, as much as it pains us maybe to say at this point. But still a joke and a bust, but Ben is all time. Forget Philly. All-time sports bust and just joke and just bamboozled and hoodwinked all of us.
Meanwhile, he gets traded to Golden State next year, and he's all defensive, NBA first team, triple-double, and he leads them to a deep run in the play. I mean, you can't make this kind of stuff up because it's going to happen. Like, eventually, Carson Wentz is going to win his 10, 11 games and win a playoff game for the Colts. It's going to happen.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, and the Ben thing's going to happen too, but it's fine. Ben's Andre Iguodala. Ben isn't James Harden,
Man.
Like, he's Andre Iguodala. He's a great 4th or 5th option with some talent.
You absolutely have a crush on Harden. You love James Harden. And you forget he disappears as much as Simmons does in the 4th quarter.
No, come on. Come on, no one disappears as much as Ben Simmons.
Oh, you want to go back to 3 for 18 in Game 7 a couple years ago when he was with the Rocket? Come on, this guy he's a great
scorer. At least he took 18 shots.
Oh, my God.
Ben's 0 for 0.
Yeah, he's a little afraid of those bunnies, too. He doesn't want to dunk it.
No,
that's brutal. All right, when will you be back on the air at, and I'm going to start saying it like this, Sports Radio, WIP.
Sports Radio, 94. So I got the overnight shift this week, man. Tonight, tomorrow, Friday, and Sunday, Phillies post-game. So
2 to 6?
I got some good airtime this week.
2 a.m. to 6?
Yeah, 2 to 6, Thursday, Friday, and then Sunday, Phillies post-game, I believe I'm doing.
All right. I'll be driving home very late, so I'll have to tune you in.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
No, I don't. All right, pal. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Pleasure.
All right, Ryan Rothstein, our guy from Sports Radio, WIP in Philadelphia. All right, quick timeout, 5:40.